Captain's Log Supplemental. While the first phase of the safety recheck is complete, only 6 more phases to go. Starfleet has this policy where if a crew member is caught outside and none of the sensors knew about it and there was no log of it and we had no automated way to realize that there was a member outside, that we have to go through this very elaborate checking system to make sure that no one else is outside the ship before we can go to warp again. The ship literally shuts down until 3 senior officers sign off on every step of that check as a very extensive safety measure. And generally I don't disagree with it. But this one was triggered by a practical joke because Ensign Prack thought it would be funny to put an empty spacesuit outside the airlock looking like it was holding on for dear life. No one caught the idea that it was a prank until after someone had triggered the emergency check system, and now we have to go through all of these steps. Needless to say, Ensign Prack is going to have a few extra duty shifts coming up.
Welcome back, everybody, to Captain's Log Supplemental. As always, I am joined by my friends Stanford.
Hey there.
Rob.
Hello.
And Mariah.
Hi there.
As a reminder, Captain's Log Supplemental is a Star Trek rewatch podcast. We're going through in chronological order from start to finish through all Star Trek. We are currently cruising through Enterprise, but before we get to that, I have a question.
Oh, well, actually, before we get to your question, I have a counter question.
Oh, wait, but before we get to... No, I'm just kidding.
Did you want to tell them what your name was?
Oh, yeah, I'm Chris. Yeah, no, they know my voice. It's fine. It's fine. It's
Doing
fine.
great. It's going real well.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
All right, what's your question?
Okay, so my question. Is there a song or like movie or TV show episode that no matter how many times you've seen it, every time it like makes you cry or at least tear up a little bit? I asked this because the other day I listened to Monsters by James Blunt. Are you familiar with the song?
Not even a little bit.
Oh my god, it gets me every time. It's a song about a son kind of, spending time with his father on his deathbed and just kind of coming to that, that realization. It's, it's part of life, but it's just very sad and it definitely emotionally touches me, both as, a son to my father, who's in good health and I'm not worried about passing away anytime soon, but, thinking ahead to that and then, having 2 sons myself, thinking far ahead in the future, it definitely gets me there every time. But it's a song he wrote about his own experience with his father passing away from, I believe it was kidney disease. So I highly recommend you take a listen if you've never heard it.
Why would I do that? It sounds depressing as fuck.
Look, sometimes you just want to cry. Okay, it's good.
Chris is like cats in the cradle and the silver spoon.
So
anyway,
I have two pieces of media.
Okay.
That get me every time. Ironically, both anime in origin. First one, I've only ever watched twice. I told myself I was never going to watch one of them again, but I wound up rewatching it because I was on a Miyazaki binge. Grave of the Fireflies.
You've managed to watch that twice?
I've watched it twice.
Jesus. I watched it once in college, and I was like, after I wiped my fucking snot and tears off my face, I'm like, never again. Never again. Fantastic film. I'm never watching it again.
Yeah, it is one of the most incredibly moving.
When I first saw that, my youngest sibling was the same age as the girl in that. Did not help.
Oh God. And then the second is Fruits Basket.
I'm not familiar with that one.
But I think it's an underwear company, right?
Shut the fuck
up. Fruits Basket, it's supposed to be like a romance anime, but it is not really, it's not like a rom-com. It's a lot more serious than that. But it also has fantastic elements to it. this girl winds up sort of like down on her luck, camping in what she thought was public ground. Turns out it was owned by this very like influential family, who then take her in, and it turns out each one of them is like a member of the Chinese zodiac, and anytime she touches them, they like turn into their animal form. Like, I guess that part's kind of funny. But like every single one of them is like a severe case of like psychological trauma that they like all help each other work through. It's very it was a lot deeper than I was expecting it to be when I heard the premise.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What about you, Stanford?
Yeah, so I don't have like a specific title in mind. The only thing that like kind of comes close to it, because it's like the reliability, right? Like I've gotten plenty tearful over plenty of media. But in terms of like every time, the only like, it's more of a concept than a specific thing, but like anytime there's like some real father-son stuff going on TV, I get pretty choked up. And that's just like, that's just childhood experience and trauma coming through, you know?
So you'll definitely enjoy Monsters.
Oh yeah. No. I'm really looking forward to it.
It is a great song. It's honestly so good.
And like now that and since we're being vulnerable, I have to say that I owe you both like a very sincere apology.
Oh?
Yeah, so I watched Alien Romulus with my buddy last week, and I might now be a pro baby stomping kind of guy. Because there's a baby in that motherfucker that needed stomped.
Oh man! All right, the whole crew's united. Team Baby Stepper. Let's go.
No.
Oh,
Not pro. Baby stomper.
Neutral?
No stomping babies. Also, mine is Try Anything by Shakira in the movie Zootopia.
Oh my god.
Train scene
Every
gets
time.
me every time.
Every time
thinking
she's
about
fucking bawling.
interesting. I didn't like picture that as a
Chris is like,
tear-inducing song.
Interesting. I didn't realize you were a little bitch. That's crazy.
Because Liam was at that age where it was very much like, you can try anything, buddy.
You know what? I have one more. The sequence in Up where the old dude is like reminiscing about his wife.
I'm sorry.
That
There are
doesn't
lots
count.
of Disney movies. The Lion King I can't watch.
Sorry.
Homeward Bound.
I
but all
assumed-
that shit doesn't count.
I assume the unspoken rule was shit that wasn't like designed to make you cry. Like, because if you can get through the whole opening sequence of Up without getting choked up, then you weren't watching it. Like
you're dead inside.
Jesus.
Honey, what
Christ.
about when spoiler alert, Spider-Man gets
when
Thanos.
I am
Wait, in what?
when Spider-Man gets snapped. That's not the part that fucked me up though. The part that fucked me up is when Tony showed back up and like Gwyneth Paltrow was there and he's like, I couldn't save him. Oh shit, it's doing it to me right now too. Fucking hell. Like, oh man, it gets me every time. But that's like father-son stuff, right? Like
Yeah. Yep. Oh, well. Now that we've all been vulnerable here.
I need a tissue.
All right. So as a reminder, please rate, review, subscribe, do all those things that will help more ears listen to this good content.
I like how you just call it good content. That just makes it awesome. Like it's perfect.
Yeah, it's good content. I mean,
if you call it good content, it is.
It is. I'm speaking it into existence. That's
Manifesting.
Yeah, that's right. So this episode was episode 19 of season 3, called Damage, which is a very obvious reference.
This is the first time I watched one of the recaps on this show. I did watch it too, but yeah, it was pretty short.
Why do you think the recaps got so commonplace this season?
Well, I think because this serialized story is uncommon for the show at this point.
That's true.
They have like overarching themes from episode to episode and kind of a season-long storyline, but like the carryover from one to the next episode is definitely uncommon for the show.
It's not just uncommon for the show, like it's uncommon for shows of the time period too.
Right. So yeah, that's why you get like to be continued. Like that's just the norm these days.
Right.
Like,
they don't even write to be continued anymore.
right.
Which, like, if you remember was it Lost? I think it's Lost. Like at the end of every episode, it said to be continued.
Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely. I think Lost was. I know, like, there's other shows that did it at the time.
No,
but
Lost
like,
was the first one that like broke through
Right.
and made it a cultural concept. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, as you said, we started our episode with a quick recap of the last couple episodes, and pick up where Enterprise is just all sorts of damaged and just generally having a bad time.
Yeah, like cold open. Everything's still on fire.
Everything sucks. Yep. Reed is talking to Paul, says they can't take much more of the damage. And then the Xindi helpfully oblige and just vacate the attack. They're
like, oh,
bug
excuse
out.
us, didn't realize you were there.
Yeah.
You all right out there?
Hmm?
It sounds like Mariah's rearranging the furniture on the rest of the... Oh, are those fireworks?
No, I was trying to be very quiet.
Oh. Well, you failed. I don't know what to tell you.
The next time I won't try. I won't
don't
try
even
anything.
Try everything.
Travis says, the engines are down, so they're not going anywhere. So they're just kind of floating in space. Back with the Xindi, the reptilian is cranky that the other Xindi had called off the attack on the Enterprise. The other Xindi order the reptilian to release Archer, including transport of Archer. They don't even let the reptilians transport Archer because, they'll probably just murder him.
This is where I'm asking, like, what is the, like, inter-organizational operating standards here between all of the various Xindi, like, militaries and stuff?
There aren't any.
Yeah, it seems kind of silly the way this is set up.
Yeah, they're very much not a centralized power in any way, shape, or form. It mostly seems just like a loose alliance of the various races.
It feels like what would have happened if Earth had been like modern day Earth thrown into space and all of the countries still hated each other.
Yeah, that tracks. So the space manatees will transport Archer to wherever they need to be going. They don't really outright say it during this meeting, of course, but they're actually they're gonna bring him back to Enterprise. Just give him a nice little drop off. The reptilian commander obviously doesn't like it, but ends up agreeing in the end. Back on Enterprise, Reed gives to Paul a rundown of the damage on the Enterprise.
I like how
unsurprisingly, it's severe.
Yeah, I like how fixing the ship is just like shooting sparks around a hallway.
Yeah.
They got their little spark generators and just shooting them around.
Yeah, a lot of welding going on. A lot of welding.
Everybody's an engineer now.
The entire ship is welded together.
No, it's made out of rocks. Didn't you see it getting damaged and stuff? It's always rocks falling from the ceiling everywhere.
Yeah, that's yeah. I mean, titanium alloy turns into rocks when you explode it. Is the thing. So
makes sense.
Yeah. They're in engineering, and Trip gives them the rundown on warp engines. There's no warp. They might be able to get thrusters going if they can, get to the damaged parts. We get a brief peek in on Archer on the aquatic ship.
Well, before that though, I have a note here that's like, Jesus, is T'Pol going to be able to hold it together? Because she's like,
she's having a bad time.
She's having a real emotionally bad time.
We need to circle back around to that later. By the way.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're going to have a whole fucking conversation about that, Robertson.
Archer wakes up on the aquatic transport ship. The space manatees don't care for conversation and immediately incapacitate him.
He taps on the glass, and I'm like, no, don't tap on the glass. Fish hate that. And then, the manatee hits the Archer passes out button.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very convenient button. Quickly back on Enterprise, they are approached by a one-man Xindi vessel. And here's the special Archer delivery. I got a Archer here for you.
They're like, let me see it. And like the main view screen's still down. They're surrounded by computer monitors, but like they're like, sorry, can't see a picture.
Can't do
it. Nope.
They spent all the graphics budgets on the last episode to blow the crap out of Enterprise, so they had to cut back on this one. In sickbay, we get a confirmed 14 dead, with 3 unaccounted for. Probably the ones that got shot out of space.
I wrote 3 unaccounted for. Oh, I saw them. They went into space.
Yeah. Unaccounted on the ship side, not so much the audience side.
Well, I don't want to call it cool, but like the really impactful thing about this is, like, anytime Phlox gets really serious about something, like, I feel like I need to be really, really serious about something. Like, it's upsetting when he like loses his jovial nature.
Yeah, when he's not casually committing some kind of medical-based war crime, he's really, really upset.
Yeah, we'll touch base on that in a minute, actually.
Yeah, we will.
Archer tries to get his bearings. Says he thinks he may have gotten through to Degra, which, you know, when you think about it, really not the best way to get through to somebody, you know, capturing them and gaslighting them into believing in your side.
Remember Degra? We did a war crime on him. Remember?
Yeah. He totally likes us. It's cool. So Archer ends up meeting with Paul, but she says she's fine, but quickly excuses herself and seems to be having issues when walking through the hallways. It's very echoey. It's like she's having some type of mental breakdown at this point. Just very shaky all around, but she finds the sink to freshen up, so she's fine.
But, you know, because ladies.
Yes, that's what they do. They go to the sink, splash some water, everything is great. So we move on. I think they're in the kind of control center at this point, and Archer points out that the Xindi aren't very united, which is clearly obvious. They map out a place to hide, but are interrupted by a power surge. Boom!
Okay,
and then the rocks fall from the sky.
All right, I have fucking questions. Yeah. So, like, first of all, how about just get down instead of this like 6-sentence speech the like engineering guy gives them about the EPS overload? But also like EPS overload, pow! Everyone get down. Okay, get back up and continue the scene. What was the fucking point?
It's just showing you how bad Enterprise is in bad shape.
It was such a wild little pointless piece of fucking film.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like, we know Enterprise is fucked up. That's the entire first act was about all the sparks flying around and shit. We didn't need this.
It's really emphasizing it.
I also have here, Travis is a good guy. He deserves more screen time.
He does, yeah.
He does, yeah.
Meanwhile, Hoshi and Travis are checking out the pod. Hoshi is listening to screaming whales. Or no, that was the aquatics talking. That's what it was, yeah.
Don't be racist.
It's like, you know, whale songs. This was like whale screams. Yeah. Archer is assisting Trip with some repairs and says, while Degra might not be on their side, he is starting to kind of question his own side. Archer's attempt to repair does not succeed, but they are.
I like how the only test they can run on this thing that they're working on is just firing it up and hoping it doesn't explode.
Yeah. They are right after that contacted by a ship asking for some help. Apparently, they'd run into some spatial distortions and had suffered some pretty severe damage.
Why is this ship here?
Convenience.
Don't worry about it.
They didn't warp away. They're still like Azadi Prime is right there. Like this top secret Xindi military post filled with top secret Xindi military police and shit are like right over there. But we're acting like they're in the middle of nowhere right now? It's fucking bizarre.
Listen, they were contracted by the Andorian Mining Consortium to strike a deal here.
So Archer says, maybe they can help each other or fix their ships. We get to the bridge, and they've done some scans. There's minimal weapons. Basically, they're an easy target, nothing to worry about. They ask the Enterprise for assistance, anything they could provide. Archer makes his way over to the alien ship and walks through the halls with the alien ship captain.
Bold move, giving someone a tour of your broken ass ship.
Really is. Quick trivia note: the alien ship captain is Casey Biggs, who actually has a lot of ties with the Star Trek universe. He has done many characters in many guest star characters on the show, including like Deep Space Nine and Next Generation. He is also the ex-husband of Roxanne Dawson, who is B'Elanna Torres, which I thought was interesting. And he's also, this is the funniest part I found, is a member of the Enterprise Blues Band, which writes and performs songs about Star Trek. Yeah.
Man, that biography got more and more depressing as it went.
Yeah. So, just thought that was a little interesting. Another quick note: the Illyrian ship is actually the model for it appears to be modified, basically the modified dorsal section of a Romulan D'Deridex class warbird from Next Generation.
All right, dork.
This is a trivia note. I did not find this myself. The details on top and the line of red-lit shapes that run down towards the stern are also present on the Romulan ship, except that the red-lit shapes are not lit. So, I thought that was interesting. I would be shocked at how we'd probably be shocked how many times these models get like reused for like one-off show episodes and stuff.
It's kind of weird though, because like this is clearly a CGI model, so they couldn't make it better than that. Like,
it all costs money, baby.
Not a lot of money. This show sucks.
Where was I? Yeah, he's
giving a tour of his broken ass ship.
Yep. He wants to trade some things for the alien ship's warp coil. Archer does. The captain, while sympathetic to their plight, is like, I don't want to be stranded, so no. Archer goes back to Enterprise. We get a random trip into Pal shower scene, which seems random at first.
It's a little fan servicey, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, I also did not see the point of this besides getting to Paul naked, but it's Enterprise, so here we are. She gets a little too kinky and rough, and then her face melts a little bit, and then she wakes up. It was a nightmare. She decides at that point it's time to take a stroll through what I assume is the depressurized part of the ship.
So
since she's got a spacesuit on.
So before we get to what actually happened, I was under the impression at this point, because there was damage to the cargo bay, and she started acting all fucking weird up in the corridor, and the recap very pointedly was saying some shit about Trillium D.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought maybe the containers or whatever that they had down in the cargo bay had like ruptured because of all the damage, and so the Trillium D was leaking into the ship and like fucking with her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, where is she going? Why didn't she tell Archer? What is happening? The music got real fucking dramatic though.
It did, yeah. So she's taking a stroll through the cargo bay. She's looking for something, clearly. She tries to climb down on some unsteady crates and immediately falls and pops a hose. Which
unnecessary drama. Completely just get to the point of the scene. What are we doing here?
I agree. Yeah, it was I feel like
we know she's unsteady.
Unnecessary.
She just had a dream where she was zombie fucking trip. Like we get it. Let's move on. Show us what's happening.
I think they were trying to stress that she's going to great lengths to just incurring danger to get to this thing. Whether that was effective or not, we can argue, but I think that was the point of that. She opens up a crate and we see, it's the Trillium D. Oh, and then we're like, oh, she's gonna straight shoot that up into her veins. Okay.
So later,
Fucking
she's
space
gonna
death.
say that she's been doing small amounts of it, but like she disintegrates like a half a pound rock of this shit, and then
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
shoots that straight into her fucking neck. And
Straight
it's like,
Black tartrellium here.
whoa!
Yeah, it was like, oh, well, that escalated quickly. Okay. We cut over to Hoshi, who has found what appears to be a coded message from Degra in the data banks of that pod. It's supposed to be like a service log of stuff done for the pod, but the names are Degra's children. So within that, T'Pol finds a set of coordinates in the logs, as well as what appears to be a meeting time. So basically, Degra has sent them a coded message to say, meet here at this time. Other quick trivia note. Apparently, this is the first time in Enterprise that an actual star date has been mentioned.
Oh, I read that too. Yeah.
I did not
That's
realize
kinda
that. I
crazy.
thought they had mentioned it before, but maybe they didn't actually straight up mention start date.
No, they use Gregorian dates because there's always like Captain's Log, October 3rd, 2372 or whatever the fuck.
Right. However, without warp, they won't be able to make it to the rendezvous because it's far enough away where they just can't make it there.
Because Degra didn't really think this through.
He did not. No, yeah, he did not take into account how fucked up Enterprise was. So at this point, Archer is brooding in his in his quarters in the dark when Phlox comes to drop off the goodest boy in Starfleet.
Porthos.
Yep, for Archer. Porthos is, as always, a good boy, but Archer is looking very pensive. We get some heavy symbolism in the scene, I will say. Heavy-handed, maybe? I don't know. Archer starts to kind of ask Phlox if he's done anything unethical in his time.
So it's like,
yeah,
all
you
that
were
time,
there.
did you ever do anything you thought was unethical? And Phlox is like, twice. And I'm
Twice.
like, only twice? Dude, what the fuck? You
Twice
tortured a medical patient 2 days ago.
Twice in the last, 2 months? Or, well, we kind of, Archer kind of says he's about to step over a line, and he also kind of steps over a line in the room to go into the darkness.
I missed that. I was too busy writing furiously about how I'm about to step over a line I thought I would never cross. Bitch, that's like a Tuesday to you.
Yeah.
Don't even.
Yeah, he kind of steps from a lit area to a dark area when he says it.
That's fucking lame. God, I wish I'd noticed that so I could tell everybody how lame I think that is.
Well, here you go. But yeah, he says I'm about to step over a line, and it probably won't be the last. I'm like, won't be the last? Bitch, it ain't the first. What are you talking about?
Pretty good close.
I don't even think it's the first this week.
Or second, or, he says, prepare for more casualties. So yeah, Archer orders Reed to get an armed boarding party ready. Even Reed is hesitant about blowing things up.
Yep.
He does say a sentence, yes.
Yeah.
My point, and I'm waffling here because so the crew is going to mutiny if Archer won't kill some babies, but there's barely a fucking problem when we armed piracy some innocent people.
Hey, you're on Team Baby Sniper. Get on board.
Yeah.
God damn it. He's like, look, so we all want to kill some babies, but these poor people haven't done anything wrong.
They're full-grown adults. We don't stop them.
They're hard to get under your shoes. Babies are just the perfect stomping size.
That's true. Especially those insect babies, man. And they make the best crunch, I'll tell you what.
Oh my god.
All right.
It's hard to get the adults to even trust you enough to sit still under your foot. It's crazy.
We cut over to the Zindi Council. The non-reptilian Zindi are meeting with She. We finally get to see her.
I'm like, who the fuck is this lady?
Yeah.
And she's like, she's oatmeal space lady, yeah.
Oatmeal space lady. Yep, she's very phasey as she's walking around. She kind of keeps slipping in and out. she admits that she did help the reptilians and insectoids time
So-
travel, but
And I don't know if this was an accident, probably. But, like, she says, I protect, because they're like, because Degra's like, you undermined, was it Degra or the black guy? One of the two Zindies,
think it's Degra.
primates, was like, you undermined our authority by going around the council to help the reptilians with their stupid Detroit thing.
Mhm.
And she says, I protected your authority by keeping the council intact. Which, because her point being that, like, by underhandedly helping the reptilians with their bullshit in Detroit, she gave them a reason to stay on the council. That is actually a clever bit of politicking that is, like, not often seen in these kinds of, like, Hollywood stories, because it's kind of subtle. The idea that, like, you can both undermine and secure authority with the same maneuver.
Sure.
Like, that's a real world thing that happens all the time, but you just don't see it in stories. Now, I say it was probably an accident because the rest of the scene was fucking ridiculous. But, like, that moment was like, I was like, this is pretty good. This is a pretty good thing.
Yeah, she gets asked by Degra if her race built the spheres, because obviously Archer's kind of told him about this at this point in the last episode. However, she dodged the question and quickly changed the topic to, about how much she's done for them.
She's like, I won't help fuel your internal bickering. Like, literally on the heels of saying, yeah, I helped the Zindi or the reptilians do whatever the fuck they wanted. What are you gonna do about it, bitch?
Yeah.
I know she's saying this while she's basically dousing the entire council room with gasoline.
Yeah, and Degra's got a good point. This lady has done nothing for anyone. Like,
Right.
what has she done for any of you?
Yeah. After she leaves, she says, Degra, the one he asks, why do you ask Degra, why do you believe what Archer says? And Archer has offered proof and she hasn't. Which, I mean, I guess, but
I guess, like, well, but that, so what that tells me is that theoretically, this lady showed up and said, in the future, the humans are going to kill all of you, so you should go do this. And they were like, okay, because,
time to do some war crimes.
No proof. There's been no proof of this. You've retooled your entire society's economy to build a death weapon to send after a species you've never met without any shred of evidence.
Yeah.
Man, they like oatmeal.
They do like oatmeal.
She was from the future.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure there was proof of that.
Apparently there wasn't. She hasn't given any proof. But yeah. Back on Enterprise, they talk about preparations for the boarding team. They say they can't. They mentioned just as kind of to seal up an argument. They can't beam out the warp coil because it'll just destroy the ship for reasons.
They are wildly okay with this, by the way. Like, everyone's on board at this point.
Well, Captain says
it's
so.
like, oh, Captain, it's nice to see you back to committing war crimes, just like the old Captain. Like, let's do this.
Actually, they heard the plan and they were like, "Yar,
yar."
We get a callback from T'Pol to their initial encounter with pirates when they entered the Expanse.
Yeah, and once again, it's like T'Pol is the only one who's right here.
Yeah.
And it's because she's on drugs. What like is the writing on this show?
Archer says it's definitely different, but it's really not.
It's like it's different now because shut up. That's why.
Mm-hmm. T'Pol quotes Archer's own words to him about not losing their humanity. And then she gets angry and smashes a tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Rawr. Or just like, he makes some like dumb joke about we've had disagreements lots of times, but you've never broken my furniture or some shit. T'Pol is obviously losing her composure at this point because of the drug problem. Archer kind of reinforces that he needs T'Pol on the bridge for this piracy that they're about to commit. So she goes to see Phlox, who is very upset with her for, shooting, black tar trellium into her veins for 3 months, apparently.
Yeah, it's a My Strange Addiction Enterprise Edition.
That's right. T'Pol explained she was using it to access emotions and got addicted. The going onto that spaceship
All
full of murdery Vulcans was like, you know what? I want some more of that.
All
and
All right, here we go. Mark where you are in your notes because we're about to do a thing.
all right, let's do a thing.
So, usually, drug addiction storylines are uninteresting and boring. But this is actually not that bad. This is surprisingly well done, given that, like, I have been complaining about the fact that T'Pol's been emotional for fucking weeks now. To give the writers the benefit of the doubt, I will say maybe this was planned all along. The only reason I hesitate is because I went back to look at some of the couple of scenes from the previous episodes where I'm like, she's acting fucking wild here. And there was no indication, even with the benefit of hindsight. So, like, if this was planned all along, which is fine, they could have done a better job. Because there was, like... There was no... Oh, we're gonna get to you in a moment, Robertson. You wait your turn.
No. I hope the two of you feel terrible for how you treated T'Pol for the
I feel
vindicated. I feel vindicated. Yes.
What?
Because, Rob, and I'm going to quote you, you've been telling me, especially, but also Chris to a certain degree once he also caught on to my side of this, was like, you're heartless, and because my issue was that I didn't like how T'Pol's character was completely acting out of her character by being so emotional. And you said, every single time I brought that point up, because it happened a couple of times, you said the one thing we know in Star Trek is that Vulcans are shown to be, like, that they feel emotions, and she's getting more and more human, and it's completely in keeping with her character. And I said the only time Vulcans are shown to be emotional without being able to control it is when there's some weird shit happening. And you're like, that's not true. Well, guess what, Rob? There's some weird shit happening.
That's fine. But you two were attacking her for even showing emotion.
Yes, because
that was the part that was heartless.
Yeah, because it was not in her character. And now we have an explanation that justifies exactly what Chris and I were saying. I wasn't attacking her. I was saying it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, she's allowed to be emotional if there's a reason for it, but you can't have a character that is defined by her emotional composure break down without a compelling reason. And they eventually gave us one right here. But 3-4 weeks ago, they didn't.
Yeah, but 3-4 weeks ago were when you were complaining about it.
Yes, I know. Because I did not have a reason.
Right.
And that's my point in, like, the writers did not in any way, shape, or form signal this until it happened, which, like, you know, I'm not a huge fan of the heavy, overly done foreshadowing, so, like, I'm not going to give them too much, like, unreasonable stickler for the fact, like, you could have told us ahead of time, what the fuck, man? Like, it's fine. Like, this is fine. But my point is that, like, I was absolutely right. She was acting completely outside of her character. And without any kind of reason at the time,
it didn't make sense.
It didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I still think that you should have shown her more compassion.
Look, if she was going to be a little druggy.
All right. Did you have more, or shall I continue with the summary?
No, that was it.
Okay.
This is surprisingly well done, was my point. Okay. And I'm going to allow the writers the benefit of the doubt that this was planned all along.
Yeah. So she tells him about what she's been doing. She's been doing it to access her emotions, but it's gotten out of hand. She's got to stop. Obviously, Flock says she needs to stay for observation, but she's got to go back to the bridge so she can oversee this pirate mission. And Flock says he won't tell Archer about it.
He's like, this is between you and your doctor, and I'm like, not on this ship, motherfucker. Like, wait, there's no hippo on Enterprise.
That's true. So right after that, the Enterprise commences its assault and disables the warp drive of the ship. The boarding team beams over. Which is, I think, the first time they've done like a mass beam over like that.
It is not.
like all at the same time? I know they've been doing like one at a time before.
No, we've even got it checked off on
our
bingo cards. They've done, I think 3 was the one at one point. But yeah, they've done several people at once a couple times now.
So anyway, many pew pews ensue. We get a little stun grenade.
Oh no, the extra.
Yeah. Speaking of
the
which,
slow-mo stun grenade like cinematography was weird.
It was just, they're trying to increase the drama. So meanwhile, Enterprise is kind of keeping the other ship busy. They're trying not to like do too much damage to this ship because they don't like want to strand them. But at this point, Enterprise is kind of already fucked up so bad they have to end up disabling the weapons of the enemy ship. So they won't explode. On the Illyrian ship, Trip and Random Extra B go to the warp core, but it's got some type of shield on it. They try to disable the shield, but are not having any luck. Meanwhile, the boarding team starts taking injuries as Parsons gets shot. One of the Makos. A quick note on this: apparently, that actor or actress who was playing the Mako was referred to as Parsons here, but was previously referred to by a different name on a previous episode. S Money. I don't know what the S stands for, but her last name was Money, apparently. Where was I? Paul eventually makes the call to knock out the power on the ship, so the shield around the warp core shut down, and they can take out the warp coil that they're trying to steal. As they're kind of making their getaway, I guess you could call it, the alien captain confronts Archer and guilts him about stealing their warp coil.
I like how in order to make this little scene happen, they couldn't just beam them out. They had to fall back to beam out, which was so fucking wild.
Yeah.
Because I really had a note. It's like, why fall back? Just beam them out. And it's like, oh, that's why. Because he needed to have this conversation.
This is a plot device. Yeah. So he's like, why are you doing this? Rah, I have to. I've got no choice. I had a choice for war crimes or no war crimes, and I had to go with war crimes.
So there's obviously no choice there. It's war crimes, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Back on Enterprise, Phlox meets with Paul in her quarters. She says she is still feeling emotions, even though she isn't on the the special T anymore. Phlox says she may just have to cope with that now.
Like how Phlox is like, your brain might just be damaged forever. Good luck.
It's just broken. Don't shoot trellium into your veins like a fucking psychopath. I don't know.
You should start with that, and then we'll go from there. Yeah.
In engineering, Trip confirms that they can make the rendezvous, and tells Archer he did the right thing.
Did he? I don't understand this reasoning.
It's he did a thing, so. Yeah. Archer says the longer they are out there, the more he has to tell himself that. Because, the more war crimes he's done.
My final note here is, like, I need these people to be dead to make this, like, interesting. But I'm guessing we never hear from them again.
Oh, yeah, never.
Yeah.
That will wrap up the summary. So, as is tradition, we will do our ratings on a scale of 1 to 5, where 0 is threshold. Who wants to start?
I don't mind. Oh, go ahead, Rob. Yeah.
So I have a feeling going on the Stanford metric. I can assume that he's not going to give this one a great score.
God damn.
Listen, man, you dropped a lot of F-bombs this episode. I like this episode a lot. I think it's funny that you feel vindicated, Stanford, but I also felt very vindicated once it came out that T'Pol was actually like going through withdrawal symptoms, and that's why she was having such a rough go of things. I liked the boarding sequence at the end. I felt like they did a nice job of like making tension through the whole thing.
It was good fight. It was good fight choreography.
I give this one a 4 out of 5.
Stanford?
It's 3. Maybe a high 3. Like it was fine. Like I didn't. Yeah, Rob. Oh shit. Like, yeah, I don't have any, like, specifically, like, horrifying complaints, like, little things here and there. But, like, it's the second part of this couple episodes, and I think it was fine. I wasn't, like, so entertained I would have given it a 4, but it's definitely, like, a high 3. I thought it was all right. I think it was standard Star Trek.
Okay. I think I ended up on a 4 on this one. I generally enjoyed it. Yeah, there were some good scenes. I thought it was good. It was interesting seeing kind of the Enterprise struggle with the ramifications of the damage they were doing. They actually brought forward a interesting moral choice. No matter how quickly they blew through it, I thought it was still an interesting moral choice. So yeah, it was 4. It was a good episode.
Yeah, and maybe if anyone was at least a little more hesitant about piracy.
As I said, despite how quickly they actually blew through the moral choice.
Or like if that ship had ended up dying, like it actually like weighed on some people or something, like sure, I probably would have given it a 4 at that point.
Sure.
But yeah.
I understand. I can't argue against that. Like I said though, I think in general I enjoyed it enough to mark it 4 for me. So
IMDb gave this one a 5.
Yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Like I said, I think in general.
No, I'm sorry, a 4. They gave the previous one a 5. This one a 4.
Okay. All right. Well, when we come back, we will get into our deep dive of the episode. All right, everybody, welcome back. Okay. So for this episode's deep dive, what I wanted to do is I had mentioned in the rating that I thought that they had an interesting moral choice in this episode. So for a deep dive, I wanted to kind of take a look at 3 other moral choices in other Star Trek series.
Oh, and thank God.
Yes, and kind of do a quick overview of what they were, and kind of get your opinion. Was the correct choice made
in the other ones, or in this particular one?
In the other ones, yes.
Oh shit!
Yeah. So,
I feel like Tom Hanks at the end of that Black Jeopardy sketch, where it's like I have some strong feelings about this.
I'm sure you will. So the first one I wanted to take a look at was in the Deep Space Nine episode In the Pale Moonlight. So as a kind of quick overview of the situation, at this point, this is in the Dominion War, and at this point the Federation is not doing so hot. Beta Z was recently conquered by the Dominion, and the Romulans had just recently negotiated basically like a non-aggression pact with the Dominion. And at this point, the Deep Space Nine crew, they're basically trying to figure out a way to get the Romulans on the Federation side, because at this point they need it to actually beat the Dominion. So they come up with a plan that they need to find basically kind of Dominion intel that indicates that they would, after beating the Federation, move on to conquering the Romulans. And so they need to find this proof. Cisco ends up recruiting Garrick, the former Cardassian spy, to help.
Excuse you, he's a tailor.
He's a tailor. Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
Just a simple tailor.
Just a regular tailor, to kind of try to find that information on Cardassia Prime using his former contacts. He eventually starts to make some headway, but then everybody who he's working with gets murdered. So they basically come to the conclusion that there's no way they're going to be able to find this proof. However, at this point, Garrick says, "Who needs to find proof? We can make up our own proof."
Garrick is so fucking baller.
Yeah. So he basically says, why don't we just fabricate this proof, convince the Romulans that, yes, because sorry, lost my train of thought. So convince the Romulans that they need to be on the Federation side because they're going to be next on the hit list after the Federation is done. Because otherwise, if they could get away with not helping the Federation, the Romulans obviously aren't fans of the Federation. So they fabricate this proof and end up convincing the realms that they need to take the Federation side in this war. So the more question was it correct to fabricate this proof, make this stuff up, to get the Romulans to come onto their side? Sisko struggles with the decision because obviously he's Federation, and they don't do things that way most of the time.
No. He says that his officers can be terrorists every once in a while as a treat.
As a treat, yes, exactly. So is the question is,
Rob,
was this the correct decision?
I have a rather academic take on this, so
Okay.
why don't you go first?
Oh boy.
You being Rob or me?
Rob, I'm sorry, I said Rob at the beginning.
Okay.
Oh man. So I normally do not like any skullduggery. So I'm just gonna go with.
I don't know how you could not like it when you call it that fantastic
Skullduggery, yeah.
word. Like, what a great word! I would want to use it all the time.
It just feels awful on a lot of levels. Like it just reminds me of what is the Russian thing, realpolitik, where like you're just basically doing whatever you need to like maintain your sphere of influence. Like it just feels kind of like that. Like I know that they were trying to win a war that they weren't doing so hot in, and they were desperate for help, but like it still feels bad. But I'm going to take the cop-out answer and say this is the prime timeline, and they had to maintain historical accuracy. So yeah, they did the right thing.
What? What the fuck?
I
So-
don't fucking know, man.
I think
Like-
Chris is saying like if you have to take the Star Trek out of it in order to like make the general concept, just like is this a morally sound decision, like if it's in any other fucking like world, like any other like similar situation, like was this a moral decision to make?
I forgot to
spec-
sorry, before we go further, I forgot to mention the last part of this.
What?
That makes it a little bit more gray, a lot more gray.
Oh, okay.
I got ahead of myself. So they fabricated the evidence to present to this Romulan official. The Romulan official recognizes it as being fake, and basically is going to report back to his superiors that the Federation tried to pass this bullshit off to us. However, upon departing DS9, the shuttle mysteriously explodes. And the Tal Shiar believe the Dominion are responsible, which then ends up getting them on their side.
Okay, so that is slightly different. So you're saying that they but Rob, okay, without making it any more gray, Rob was already not a fan of this.
Yes.
Like here's the problem. The problem for me is that as terrible as this whole ordeal is, and like I believe that they are sacrificing their morals here for the victory, I still think it's the right thing because of how horrible the Dominion is.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, just to add some additional things. Just to be clear, Garrick definitely murdered this Romulan.
Duh, yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's just a tailor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so no, I actually don't think that this was an immoral or even unethical decision, even with the added context of having to kill that one dude. The reason I say that is that we can't hold state actors to the same kinds of morals. Usually we would like to hold them to more strict ones, but we cannot. When you're talking about the kind of game theory of a war like this, especially a defensive war that the Federation is fighting, it's obviously not immoral to lie to the Romulans, to tell them it's not even, okay, let's start one step earlier. It's not immoral to tell the Romulans, if they kill us, they're coming for you next. Even if that's not necessarily something for sure, that is just a coercion tactic.
Also,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Based on the history of the Dominion, that is the likely scenario.
And that's fine. Yeah. And that's evidence you can use. Then if you need to lie to them to tell them that is not ethically wrong in this context, because again, these aren't like individuals hurting individual people. These are state actors engaged in a state conflict. whether or not you want to put the value of life on this Romulan envoy is kind of a personal choice, but there's a level of like, that is also a person working for the Romulan state. And that is the kind of activity that is going to happen we're talking about, decisions that are involving the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people, right? So it is not necessarily inappropriate to assign that state envoy's death to those numbers instead of singling that person out as being this moment of ethical crisis, when at the same time you're also blowing up ships filled with dozens of people,
Right.
So I don't think that there is as gray an area as DS9 may have been trying to put here when we're talking about the kind of motions of states and war.
As a matter of fact, just to add context there, when Sisko confronts him about it because he's mad, Garrick says, "Just another casualty of war,"
and that is true. Whether or not it is a necessary casualty, that's what it was.
Right.
So I don't know. I think that there's a lot of times too when you need to there's a famous quote somewhere, and I don't remember where it was, is that and it's not, this quote is often, kind of taken too far, but it's war crimes are decided afterwards.
Right.
The courts afterwards will decide if Garrick has committed a war crime here or not. At the time, though, he's and plus the fact that Garrick is not a Federation actor, so there's also, as far as the death is concerned, that's kind of a Garrick thing,
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, aside from that death in Garrick, because that kind of makes things a little weird, I don't think it is morally wrong in any way, shape, or form to fabricate evidence to get the Romulans to side with the Federation in in a defensive war against an aggressive enemy.
Yeah, I generally agree. It's especially for that part, I have, no issues of just trying to get them onto your side, which, I mean, as we talked about, would probably benefit them in the long run anyway.
Can I
ahead.
ask Stanford, would you feel differently if the Federation was the aggressors?
100%. 100%. Okay. And that is important context, is that the Dominion is the aggressor and the Federation is in a defensive war. Because that's 100% an absolutely changing dynamic of that moral situation.
Okay. Any final thoughts on that one before we move on to the next one?
Forward, maximum yar.
They weren't stopping babies. So
yeah. All right. So the next one I would like to take a look at is the topic of many internet forum arguments.
Here it comes.
Fucking Tuvix.
Tuvix, yeah, I knew. As soon as you told me what this was going to be about, I'm like, Tuvix is going to be in this one.
Absolutely. I mean, how could it not be? How could it not be? So, if for some reason you don't know, Tuvix is also the name of the episodes. You don't know Tuvix. Okay, so Tuvix is the name of the episode, but it is also the name of the source of the moral dilemma.
Oh, so basically, hold on. I'm sorry, Chris. Rob, keep your opinion to yourself. I want to actually hear what Mariah's take is on this, because you and I are very firmly aware of Tuvix, but she is not. So I'm actually curious what her take is.
Okay, so to lay out the situation, basically, two characters, Tuvok and Neelix, are on an away mission, and in a routine beam back to the ship, a flower is also included into the beam back, and this somehow throws off the transporter, which ends up merging Tuvok, Neelix, and part of this flower into one creature. Hilariously, Memory Alpha lists his species as half Vulcan, 7/16 Talaxian, and 1/16 Mylian, which is the flower. So, basically, throughout the episode of the show, we get to know Tuvix a little bit. He's such a nice guy. He gets along with everybody on the crew. Eventually, we get to the point where they figure out a way to separate Tuvok and Neelix back into their, former selves. However, it is established at this point that Tuvix is its own, person. Like, it is a sentient life form. That is on its own a individual life form, and does not want to die. It does not want to be separated into its two former people. And so Janeway eventually makes the decision to override his request and separate them back into Tuvok and Neelix, because in their situation, Voyager being where it is, lost in the Delta Quadrant, it needs both Tuvok and Neelix for their specialties, and he needs those two crew members back. So, Stanford, you mentioned you wanted to hear Mariah's take on this. Mariah, what do you think about that situation?
What happens to the flower?
I don't think it is important in the context of this.
It is important.
Do they even mention that? I don't even remember them mentioning that.
I think the flower comes back out, actually. It's in the case still.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Oh man, I hope somebody puts it in a pot on their desk somewhere.
It's like an Easter egg.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I think it's the right decision to separate them.
Why?
Because that was their original state.
So you're on
those
kind
two
of
people were sentient.
Yeah, needs of the two outweigh the needs of the one.
Well, and I guess if you put it that way, the idea is then they need both of those people individually for the survival of Voyager or whatever.
Okay.
And
I don't think
I would like to keep the flower.
I think Chris may have overemphasized the usefulness of these two crew members. I don't think that it should not weigh into your consideration that these two crew members are going to be the salvation of everybody else on the ship. The question is, that is
an argument that Janeway does make in favor of.
Yeah, I think that Janeway's argument there is kind of a red herring. The question is, if two things cease to exist in order to make a third separate sentient being, and that sentient being does not want to be destroyed in order to make the old two things again, do you have, are you ethically allowed to force it to basically to kill it in order to make the two again?
Well, there were three things.
With this fucking flower. All right, Rob, what do you think? Fuck Riley.
I think Janeway made the correct decision. I don't think that I would even weigh the usefulness of those other two beings that came together to make Tuvix I agree with you. I think that was a red herring. The fact that these two people had to essentially give up their existence to make Neelix possible, or Tuvix possible, I don't think that, they clearly didn't have any say in the matter. It's not okay to just take away their lives from them. It's not fair that Tuvix would expect them to be okay with that.
So I think, and it is, I think, important. There is, while I think what you're saying is valid, the means by which that happened is different. It was an accident, right?
Sure.
There wasn't ever any choice involved with them being.
There was no maliciousness.
Right.
Right. I'm not saying that there was.
Right. But I think
that
does
wasn't anyone's decision.
Yeah, it does impact the morality of the situation, I would say. Now, I think I generally agree that the right decision was made. As you said, those two people do, deserve to have their own lives as well. It is certainly never easy to destroy one life, even if it is to save two others. But that's classic trolley problem, right? When you boil it down.
It is. So, Tuvix is an interesting case because I don't think in kind of a vacuum, in a laboratory thought experiment, right? Mm-hmm. I don't think there's a right answer.
Sure.
I don't think because the problem is, usually when it comes down to these philosophical questions, my issue is consent, right?
Sure.
And we never got consent from Tuvok and Neelix, but as Rob pointed out, it was an accident. It wasn't like Tuvix like maliciously brought himself into existence to kill, like to get rid of those two.
Yeah.
But by the same token, you're also like, you're going against the wishes of a sentient being and directly causing Tuvix harm. Like, let's be very clear, Tuvix is dead. They kill Tuvix. They murder him in order to bring the other two back. I think that given Janeway's general state of mind and the way that they've been kind of dealing with the Delta Quadrant shit, I think it is reasonable for her to make the decision that she made, but I also think it would be reasonable to make the other decision as well. I'm not sure that there is a compelling argument in one direction or the other at its base, like, philosophical concept. And so you have to start taking into account these, like, outside forces,
other extraneous factors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting too, because Janeway made what some argue is kind of the opposite decision. When Neelix got his lungs taken by the Vidians.
Sure.
And the Vidian, like, woman who had his lungs, Janeway's like, I can't kill you to save Neelix. I'm not allowed to do that by my moral code. But it is interesting that she, although these are separated by a few years, if I recall, Tuvix, I think, is a season 3 episode. Whereas that Vidian one is like season 1. It is interesting that she has shifted to, at least in some way, shape, or form, being okay to kill one person to save two. But the question is, like, whether or not she actually saw Tuvix as a sentient being, and there is some question to that, because Janeway's perception of valid sentience is kind of interesting, because she has some issues with the Doctor a couple of times where it's like, oh, you don't actually consider him like a living being at all. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of wild.
Yeah.
What about the missiles? How does she treat the missiles?
Oh man, those.
Yeah. Well, and I think that is part of why that the Tuvix has kind of, lived on as a meme on the internet, right? Because there's probably no right answer. There, you could argue it till the end of time.
Sure. I think that it is I think it is a lazy take to claim that Janeway is heartless.
Right. Agreed.
Or ruthless when she makes the decision that she makes. I think that is a take that is colored by the general sexism that is working against that particular character. So, because I see that all the time. It's like, oh, she's heartless. Look what she did to Tuvix. It's like the whole fucking Harambe thing again.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, with that being, my third...
Is the third one Harambe?
It is not Harambe. My third and final one is actually episode I, Borg, which is on Next Generation. So this is the one...
Me, you, and a Borg named Hugh.
Yes. It is where they find Hugh, basically kind of like on this, like, damaged on a planet. They take him back. And through working with, like, kind of studying him and him recovering, they kind of get to know him as not just a Borg drone. He is actually, an individual, because he's disconnected from the collective. He kind of, his latent, psyche comes back, and they kind of more recognize him as an individual. However, at the same time, they are coming up with a plan to basically deliver a virus to the Borg as a means of fighting them. And they identify, this Borg drone as a means to deliver that virus, which would obviously kill many Borg. It would kill Hugh, of course, and also deliver him back to the Borg, to be reacquired back into the collective. Eventually, while they do deliver Hugh back to the Borg, or at least drop him off so he can be recollected by them, they do not choose to infect him with that virus to then infect the collective.
Does Hugh want to be dropped off?
That's a good question.
Because you're like they dropped him off, but without the virus. It's like, okay, so why did they drop him off? Did he ask to be dropped off?
Let me see here. I've got the outline of the episode up. Yeah, I think he did want to, because he never was like, I'm an individual, but like he was, he identifies himself by a name that Geordi gives him, but he does want to be back with the collective.
So which okay, there are two separate moral issues here. Which one are we talking about?
Well, we can talk about both.
Okay.
Is it the potential weapon of mass destruction? Because I am on board with not using him as a bioweapon.
Okay,
yeah, so,
and that is genuinely, that is one of them. Is like,
yes.
Is it like regardless? Well, there's actually three, I guess, because the first question is it genocide to kill the Borg with a virus? Like, regardless of the delivery method, is that genocide? And boy, that's actually a surprisingly tricky question, because the Borg are really not great, but also like they are a race of people. So like, I don't know. Ooh, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
So like, I feel like it's an easier question before the Queen gets introduced.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I actually think the Queen makes it an easier question, because now it's like, oh, it's not a race of people, it's one person.
Right.
And so therefore, like, yeah, I don't mind killing one person to save hundreds of thousands. Like, that doesn't bother me.
Okay.
But like
she's effectively a tyrant at that point.
Right. What the Queen does is, and not even the tyrant, like, no. Like, with the idea being that, like, killing the Borg kills the Queen, they're all dead. All Borg dead. What the Queen does is it humanizes it. It makes me understand, oh, the Borg is one person. And so the Queen made that an easier decision for me, because I do actually, the way the Borg are constructed in terms of the show, they are presented as a singular consciousness.
Yeah.
Which means that they are, despite the fact that they are using all of these bodies and all of these machines and spread out all of these light years, they are one person. Is it right to kill a person in order to prevent them from killing billions? And I feel like that's an easy answer, right?
So
like, it's the go back in time and kill Hitler thing, right?
I will say yes. I will point out that while they are technically a collective, there is one mind. People can recover from being Borg, right? I mean,
yeah, so, that right there, that's where Star Trek fucked up the Borg, right? Because that's where it's like, oh, this isn't a phenomenon. This isn't an unstoppable force. This is a thing that the heroes are gonna have to beat. Because, like, yeah, you're right. At that point, it becomes an issue,
right,
like. Because, like, they got Jean-Luc back, so obviously it's not that hard. Yeah. They got 7 of 9 back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's that whole, like, they got several kids back in Voyager from, So, like, obviously, the Borg are not a single person. But the way they were presented thus far in the show, I think the idea was that it was a single person, right?
Right.
As far as using Hugh...
I mean, I will say at this point, I mean, Picard has already, like, been aboard and been rescued.
Yeah. I don't know. My issue with letting Hugh go back to the collective is I think that I don't remember the specifics of the episode or what arguments are used on Hugh's behalf there. But, like, I firmly believe that if you rescue someone from a cult that they insist on going back to, that they are not necessarily in the right mind to make that decision.
Sure.
And I think that this is a good analogy for the Borg. Like, I want to be back in the collective. I don't think you can safely assume that person is able to consent in that situation, because the power dynamic between the cult and the individual is far too heavily skewed towards the cult to allow consent to be capable there. So I'm not sure letting Hugh go back to the Borg was actually an ethical decision in the first place.
So I will note here, after they decide not to use the weapon, there is kind of dialogue around, well, maybe his newfound sense of individuality will have its own effects on the Borg collective consciousness.
Oh, right. Yeah. Maybe this good cop will solve all the problems from the inside of the cop organizations.
Which
that's,
which obviously doesn't happen, but
yeah, no, that's fucking nonsense. What the fuck? That's real rich, considering that, like, these are people who are, when they're writing the show, fully aware of the whole Branch Davidian situations and stuff, you know?
They do offer him, like, asylum on Enterprise if he wishes to stay. And although he does...
Is he human?
I don't know that it's ever... I think it's... I don't think so. I don't think he was human. Like, he looks like he's human, but I don't think he actually was human.
I think that
ridges or something.
Yeah, it's actually he says while he does want to stay with his friend, Geordi, he concludes that it would be too dangerous for his new friends because the idea would be the Borg would come and collect him by tracking his signal or whatever.
Sure. So I don't know if, like, him staying on the Enterprise is the correct decision. This is once again one of those things in Star Trek where it's like, is there nobody else in Starfleet that can do anything? It just is the people on this one ship. Like, it's like, hey, we've got this Borg drone who has managed to separate from the Borg collective. Can, someone come get him so that he can be, like, rehabilitated and, like, go back to a real society and not this culty bullshit?
Yeah, like, the real problem for me is, as far as I know at least, the Borg forcibly assimilate all of their victims. So, like, I'm on the same boat with you, Stanford. Like, I don't think that anybody should be sent back to them. Like, even if they think that they want to go back.
Even if they're like, get me in the neck, Borg daddy. Like, no, that person needs to go to therapy.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm definitely not on board with, bioweapons for genocide.
Yeah, like I said, if they kept the Borg as the single consciousness and it was, like, reliably so, then it would be one discussion. But it's like if in the newer Suicide Squad, like, all the human bodies with all the starfish attached to them, like, they're not humans anymore. They're now starfish people. Like, and that is one organism.
Yeah. Totally lost my train of thought. Yeah. So I would say yeah, no on the genocide, but yeah, setting him. I don't understand why they couldn't, like. I don't remember the very specifics, so maybe there was a reason they couldn't, like, just unborg him.
I know why.
Why?
He wouldn't look good in a catsuit.
But yeah, also no on sending it back to the Borg. So, all right. Well, unless there is any final thoughts, that wraps up my deep dive for this episode.
Nope.
Yep. All right. Well, when we come back, Rob will have some Potpourri for us.
Welcome back. So, for Potpourri this week, we are going to continue our Yar adventure into Star Trek here. So, I'm going.
Are we talking Tasha or pirate?
Pirate.
Okay.
Yeah, Tasha Yar. I'm going to pose a question to you. You are forming a team of Starfleet officers across all eras for a heist to obtain this week's episode's MacGuffin. All right? But you can only bring one team member per show. Who are you bringing?
Do I have to bring a team member from each show?
Yes, and we're going to go through each show, and you have to pick your team member.
God,
and you want to take a moment to make your decisions so that you can get your ideal team here, or should we just roll right into it?
Let's just roll right into it.
I don't think planning is going to do us anything.
Just roll right into it.
Okay. All right. TOS.
I'm going to take...
Are we, like, filling specific roles here, or are we just assembling a team?
That is completely up to you.
I'm taking Uhura.
Okay, reasoning.
Uhura?
Yeah, because she's scrappy, and also she's, like, really good at, like, communications and shit, which seems like it's going to be important no matter what I'm heisting.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'd take Kirk. He's definitely charismatic. He could definitely be a person who goes in and talks his way through things. So I think I'd go with Kirk on this one.
He's going to be your face.
Yeah, he's the face.
That was the exact same logic I had for bringing Kirk, Chris.
Okay.
He's the face of my team.
Yep.
All right. TNG.
TNG. I think I'd take Worf. He's the muscle.
Yeah, but like he's also the most beat up character across all the shows.
He
right?
can take a beating. Yeah, he's the muscle.
I could take a beating. I think I might take. I think I'm gonna take Riker because he would be my face.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was actually the other one I thought about. For that role,
plus,
but I already took
plus
Kirk,
depending on when I might get two of them.
Oh shit.
Get Tom and Will.
Yeah. I was gonna say I did think about that actually when I picked Kirk. I'm like, who else would be a face from one of the other series? But yeah, since I went with Kirk already, I'll take Worf for the muscle.
Yeah, Riker's a good choice here for face for sure. I went probably a little non-traditional here. I picked Troy because she's half Betazoid.
Oh, that's a good point.
Like she would be real good at like getting you through all the dialogue options unscathed.
Sure.
I don't know. They're real stingy on when they get to use that, though.
That's true.
Well,
like the face
right.
always works. The psychic powers are like plot dependent.
Deep Space Nine.
Oof.
I choose Quark. He's got connections. In the
I
underworld.
choose Dax because she has connections. I choose Dax because like you basically are getting 4 people. Like
that is true.
In one there, right? And she's just like she is clearly the most capable person on that station. Wait, hold on. I forgot about Garrick. Hold on. Oh shit.
That's right.
Oh man.
Just talked
See,
about
no, like it's over too quick if I use nunchucks logic. I think Garrick makes the game too easy,
yeah,
so I'm gonna stick with Dax.
yeah. I'll stick with Quark because I think you're right. He's just too good.
Jadzia Dax, by the way.
Jadzia Dax, okay. I picked Odo because
that's another good choice.
Odo's too easy to convince of the wrong morality of a situation.
All right, Voyager.
Oh, Tom Paris. He's my wheelman.
Use your wheelman. I wondered if you were going to do that.
Yeah.
I think I might take Torres.
Interesting.
As my as like my tech,
Yeah. She's good at she was on the McKee. She's good with doing more with less, right?
Yeah.
Asymmetric warfare.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't have a whole lot of experience with Voyager, so I went with the Doctor. I thought he would make a good doorstop. Enterprise.
Oh boy.
Yeah, this one's tough. Although I kind of went for a backup here.
I think I have
Kirk doesn't make it.
Based on my current team, I think I kind of have 2 options, 2 different ways I could go.
I think I'm going to go with Phlox just because giving him a gun is hilarious.
See, I wasn't considering medical professionals for a heist
I need a medic, man. What if some shit goes down?
Yeah, that's true.
Plus he can climb up the outside of the bank. Like,
ooh, that's true. He's got them cliff scalers.
Scale it with his toes.
Oh yeah. Okay. No. It's definitely Phlox then. Yeah. Fucking Phlox.
See, I picked Trip because he was going to be my tech. Well, he'll be one of my tech guys, but also he could be a backup for Kirk in case we need a new face.
There you go. Yeah, he was.
Yeah,
the
problem was I was like, oh, Hoshi. Nah, I've already got Ahura. Oh,
that's what I was.
Nah, I've already got Torres.
Hoshi was what I was considering as well.
But... Yeah. All right, Disco.
I think for Disco, I'm taking the one engineer they get later. I can't remember their name.
Oh, Tig
Yeah,
Notaro's
Tig Notaro,
character?
yeah, she's my
Oh
second.
my god, she's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who I picked as well.
I'm gonna take that that one pilot, not the one with the weird eye. That I can't stop looking at. The black woman. I need a wheelman,
The
so
one with the
or
weird
a wheel
eye?
person.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one's got like the cyborg eye that I can't stop staring at. So the
Yeah,
other
yeah.
one.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. I don't have a pick.
Oh
for the
wait,
next one
no, sorry, no, because I remembered what's coming up next. No, I'll take that. I'll take that cute Asian guy who works the op station on the bridge.
There you go.
You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
honey, right?
Yep, I know.
I don't have a pick for the next one because I haven't even begun watching it yet. Picard.
Oof.
I already picked Riker. I don't understand.
Oh, does that mean I can pick Riker now?
Oh, this is how you get your 2 Rikers.
There you go.
Oh, I can get 7 of 9. I can get later. I can get See, I would take later 7 of 9 because she's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Who would I go with? Yeah, it's got to be 7 and 9.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, you could take older Crusher too. She's pretty badass in that show.
I already got a doctor though.
That's true.
See, 7 of 9 is a good all-arounder, I think.
Yeah.
Don't you also need like a benefactor?
Oh man, but there's that Dale guy though. He's pretty cool. No, I'll stick with 7 of 9.
Yeah.
All right. Lower Decks.
Are we doing Strange New Worlds?
We are. Yep.
Okay. So speaking of benefactor, lower decks, taking the Orion girl.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Tandy.
Tendi. I was like, Tilly? No, that's from Discovery. Tendi. Yeah, because she's like a princess on Orion.
Yeah.
So like,
She's
Yeah.
plus she's backup
like really
med.
good at everything.
She's
Yeah.
backup fighter too. She knows how to fight.
Yeah, she's not terrible at engineering. She's
Yeah.
she's just a good character.
Yeah, Tendi, definitely.
Spend some time in sick bay.
Yeah. What's her face?
Burnham's or not Burnham? Jesus. Freeman.
Mariner?
Freeman, yeah.
Mariner. That's her name.
Mariner, yes. She's a strong option as well, but yeah,
Yes.
for factoring in the benefactor portion of this, I would say.
I think Tendi's rich as shit. Yeah.
What was what is it? Mistress of the Winter Constellations? Wasn't that her
Something
title?
like that.
Yeah. Yeah, Teddy's who I picked as well. She's just the obvious choice, right?
Yeah.
And then Strange New Worlds.
Ortega. That's my wheel person.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who I picked too for wheel person.
Who would I pick?
Like Mbenga with the steroids.
As I say, I was considering Mbenga.
Chapel too, yeah.
I was considering Mbenga.
Or Hot Spock.
Hot Spock is good too. Yeah. That's tough. Yeah, I'll go Hot Spock. Yeah.
All right. Well, very good. Teams have been assembled. Off they go.
Taking anyone off Prodigy?
Oh, I didn't think about Prodigy. Yeah, who are you taking off Prodigy? I don't have anyone for this one either. I haven't seen any.
So part of me wants to take the Medusan because, like, it's a Medusan. But the other part of me, I really like the Vulcan character that shows up in this last season. She's kind of in season 2 a little bit too, but she's mostly shows up in season 3.
It's been a while since I've watched it, and I've only watched like up to half of season 2.
Or season... I'm sorry. This is season 2. She shows up in season 2.
Oh. Okay, well then I've only watched like season 1 then, I guess.
Yeah. She's in the Netflix part.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
She's got cool hair.
Huh.
Do you have anyone for Prodigy, Chris?
It's been so long since I've watched it. Like, I don't even remember the characters' names in that show, to be honest with you. Hold on, let me look at them real quick.
He's gonna take the whale. I don't know if you've seen season 2 at all. Well, like on the Voyager B, I think, or the Voyager A or whatever. But I think it's the Voyager B that Janeway's on in season 2. They have Cetacean Ops as like a fucking whale navigator.
No. I'm taking Murph.
Murph is Murph, yeah. The slug, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for
Right.
security. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's funny too because like there's a lot of times where like they're assigning away teams and people who are not like familiar with these people are like, okay, so like Chakotay shows up at one point and they're like, okay, yeah, so and so will go with you and Murph is gonna go with you. And he's like, what's Murph there? For security. And like Chakotay's like, what the fuck? And then there's like no discussion about it because everyone, like all of the kids know that Murph can beat the shit out of literally anything and is indestructible. But to Chakotay, it's just this like weird little slug thing that's coming along.
It's a very cute slug too.
Yeah. Yeah, Will Wheaton is in like most of season 2.
Oh, interesting. As like a traveler?
Yeah, as Crusher. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
As Wesley Crusher.
Oh, that's fun. All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in for another week of Captain's Log Supplemental. As Chris didn't mention at the top of this week's podcast, please remember to like, subscribe, share us with your friends and family, help spread the word out.
Called out.
I said it.
I thought he said it too.
Did he?
Yeah, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, you were too busy being all vindicated about the drugs or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. I was real excited to stick it to you guys this week. Ruin that for me.
with reality? I don't know. Like
your interpretation of reality. Yeah. Please share us with your friends and family. Anyone you think might like Star Trek, just help spread the word. It helps get us new listeners, more ears in the pod. With that, have a good week, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Captain's Log Supplemental. You can follow us on Twitter at PodCLS or send us hate mail at podcls3@gmail.com.